be sharing with you in this video how to create the reality you choose instead of the one that others choose for you. Because the truth is that you're gonna feel many times in your life that you're not living in accordance with the world that you actually want to create for yourself, and you're gonna feel like you're living somebody else's world, like you're living somebody else's life. And that's a problem, because if you're going through your life and you feel like you're not even being the person that you choose, then how can you really be actually happy? Whatever happiness means to you, you're definitely not going to achieve that by living someone else's life that they think that they want for you, that you feel like you're doing because you feel like you have to do it. That's not a life to live. I'm going to share with you in this video how to avoid this so that you could actually be the person that you actually want, that you choose for yourself. Not a life that you feel obligated to live, that you feel like you have to live, but the life that you actually want to live, that you consciously choose for your actual self. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is just to understand that if you really want to create the reality that you choose, instead of the one that others choose for you, the key is to remember that awareness, like really consciousness and awareness, really consciousness is what allows you to have more choice in the matter. See, if we don't have consciousness, if we don't have awareness or consciousness of the situation, then how are we going to have more choice? Because imagine if you're living into unconscious patterns, emotional patterns, thought patterns that you never consciously redirected to think about how you want them to be. And these patterns are so unconscious that since you never chose them, you're basically just a puppet for someone else's world. And I know that sounds really negative to say it like that, but there's no really better way to put it. Because the truth is that if you're going to walk through life and you're not going to be able to think for yourself and be an independent thinker, then where is the free will choice in that situation? You're not really a free will thinker because you're going through life and all your choices are made by other people around you. You've never consciously made the choices on your own, and so you're walking through life and you basically expect, not saying this is you, but a person can get to the point where they're now allowing other people to make the choices for them. And that's really sad, because how can you be your own person? How can you create the reality that you want if you've not even taken back your consciousness and your power to be able to make your own choices once again? Because how can you make your own choice without consciousness and awareness of an unconscious emotional pattern? If there's maybe some trauma of the past where you hold that negativity in your physical body, in your experience, because the emotion of the past is recreated in this present moment, and your body doesn't know the difference between a memory and the actual experience and feeling it in this present moment. So if you're thinking about the memory, you're recreating in this present moment, you're going to be feeling that negativity, right? And in that moment, if you're not consciously aware that that's happening, how can you have free will choice? If an unconscious emotional pattern of the past has completely taken over your consciousness and awareness, and you do not have consciousness and awareness that simply is a emotional pattern popping up, and that's just simply all it is, you're going to have a tough time choosing the world that you want, because you've unconsciously identified with the emotional pattern. You've decided unconsciously, but nonetheless, though, still a choice, that pattern is you, and that is you, and that's who you are. And this is who I am, and this is how I am in the world, and that's just me. It's like, no, it's not actually you. You can create a different world, but the question is, do you have enough consciousness to see that it is in fact a choice, and that you don't need to actually do that? You don't need to actually live in that way. You can reprogram and rearrange that situation only if you have enough consciousness, and you have enough choice from that consciousness of that pattern. And so the second thing that I want to share with you in this video is just to keep in mind, as you go throughout your day, I think it's important to remember that in every single, any connection that we have, or any job that we're working, or any action that we're taking, anything, even, it might sound crazy, but maybe even just to live, just remember, you don't have to do anything. And I know that sounds horrible. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a desire to live. I'm not saying something crazy like that. Don't get me wrong. You should, of course, have a desire to live. Every single human being should want to live. But that's the point, is that just remember, you don't have to do anything in your life. You don't have to, break the bad pattern. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to do anything. You have to want to do it. But the reason I'm saying it in that way is because remember, even if you take the greatest passion of your life, whether you take the deepest, darkest, saddest moment of your life, something you absolutely don't want to do, or something you absolutely love to do, and you just want to put all your energy and all your consciousness and all your focus into that thing. Just remember, even if it's the thing that you love the most and you care about the most, and you want to put all your time and energy into it 24/7, every single moment of your life, 25/8, you're doing this thing, right? Just remember, you don't even have to do that. It's a choice to do so. It is a choice to be with somebody or to do something every single moment. Even if you feel like, oh no, there's just no other way. This is how it is. I just have to do this, there's no other option. There's always an option. You don't have to be a good person. You could be a bad person. You can choose negativity, you can choose fear, you can choose these things. But why would you if you understand that you have a choice? Some people don't believe that they have a choice, and so they choose fear, they choose negativity, and they choose the negative patterns of the past. But if you remember that you have a choice, and you remember that you don't have to do anything, there's nothing you have to do. There's no have-tos in life. I want every single human to get to the luxury and get to the blessing of realizing that there's no have-tos. There's no have-tos. Maybe, of course, you might think, well, Francis, what if there's a extreme survival situation that this person has to do, right? Extreme survival. It's like, don't they have to? Well, they have to, but they could give up. There's no have-tos. You could give up. You could give up on your life today. And I'm not saying that that's a good choice and that you should do that. I would never say that you should do that. I think you should always keep going. That is the nature of the human spirit, is to keep going and to keep striving to absolutely create more and to be a better human being and to improve upon your experience. I think that's part of the human nature. I think that's part of human nature, and part of the human existence is to live in this way. But I also believe that the truth is that as you go through your life, just remember that you don't have to do anything. And I know that it's an extreme example. I would never, ever, ever give that advice to any human being. Of course, never give up. Absolutely keep going with what you're creating every single moment, and never allow anything to not allow you to define how you want to see your life. You should be able to define your world no matter what external circumstance is happening. But nonetheless, even with this being the case, I want people to remember that there's no have-tos. Every single thing that you do in your life, I believe, comes down to choice. You have a choice. You have a choice to go to do the thing that you love every single day, or to connect with the person, or to do that thing, or to go to work, or to work on your passion, or to not do any of these things. You have a choice. You have a choice to take action or to not take action. You have a choice to, let emotional reaction control you or not. You might feel an emotional reaction pop up in a present moment experience, but do you need to allow this to define your identity? Do you need to believe in this emotional pattern of the past that's telling you this is who you are, or this is the way that you have to be? Or can you simply see that situation and see that you don't have to actually believe in that? You don't need to believe in, you don't have to do anything. You get to choose the world that you want to see happen in your life. You have the free will choice to be that person that you actually want to be. And so the third thing that I want to share with you in this video is just to remember that, if you want to create the reality that you choose instead of the one that others choose for you, just remember to think for yourself. Independent thinking, I think, is one of the most powerful things that we need to start to consider if we really want to create the world that we want to see happen. Because if we don't start to think for ourselves and start to see that, we can think our own thought patterns, we don't need to let other people decide our thought patterns. No, you don't need to do that. You can think for yourself. The question is, are you an independent thinker? And I want you to contemplate something for a moment if you're open to it. Look at some of the best things that have ever been created in life. Maybe the best things you've ever loved. Maybe just think about even a building or anything that you love, any product or invention that you absolutely love, that you think is so useful to existence. How did this come about? Do you think that these types of things came into existence by a following mentality? I'm not saying that these people didn't, learn from the outside and use every single moment as an opportunity to learn something. What I'm saying is that, do you think that these things come from a lack of independent thinking or more independent thinking qualities? I would say, of course, the best inventions in life that have ever been created come from independent thinking qualities, where that person has the ability to think for themselves and to think that they can generate their own opinions, generate their own thoughts, and not just be so agreeable with the outside world. I'm not saying that you have to cause conflict or to be disrespectful or to say that people or be rude. I'm just saying that you can have an opinion that is different from somebody else's opinion. And this is going to allow you to think for yourself and then create your own world, your own worldview, and your own perspectives that you actually care about, that you actually want to see. Not the one that other people think that you should do, or the one that they think you should be doing, or that they think is the best for you. And I'm not saying that other people, you shouldn't have an open perspective to contemplate what perspectives other people have for you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if you want to create the reality that you choose, not the one that other people want, but the one that you actually want to see, you're going to have to learn to be an independent thinker and to actually think for yourself. Generate your own thoughts. And, really it comes to a funny perspective, because are we really even generating our own thoughts? Really, everything that you've ever experienced is, of course, to some degree, you're influenced by the outside world. You did, of course, experience something and get, quote unquote, get or take information from the outside world. And I'm not saying that that's something you should neglect, or dishonor. Of course, we need to get information from the outside world and get those outside perspectives and outside opinions. And it's always really good to have a second opinion a lot of the times. But what I'm saying is that at some point in your life, no matter how much you read, how much you learn, how many questions you ask from the outside, how many people you reach out to, you're going to have to take all these ideas and generate an opinion about it. Generate a thought about it. Generate some type of perspective about it that's going to allow you to really generate your final opinion on that situation and create your own thought. Create your own perspective where you can actually think for yourself. You think for yourself and you're not just letting other people think for you. And of course, if you think for yourself, you thinking for yourself is what you're going to need to create the reality that you choose, not the one that others choose for you. So if you really want to start to create your world, the one that you want, I would encourage you to take this idea of thinking for yourself a little bit into consideration. Start to really think for yourself just a little bit more so that you can actually start to notice that that is what's going to allow you to start creating your own world. Let other people have perspectives, but take those perspectives and then you have the final call, the final perspective of what resonates for you and what feels good to you personally, not what they think is best. You're going to have that final say, and that's absolutely okay for you to take all that information, and then in the end, you can make the choice that feels absolutely, truly correct to you, and that's absolutely okay, and you have full permission to actually do